The British government is going to allow Chinese tech giant Huawei to have a limited role in building the UK's 5G cellular network. There are some caveats. Huawei will be banned from core parts of the infrastructure and from operating at sensitive sites, including, for example, nuclear and military facilities. The UK was under pressure from the United States to block Huawei from the network completely over concerns about spying. This seems like a good time to dig a little deeper into 5G networks and why Huawei is causing so much concern. We've got CBC senior technology reporter Thomas Daigle on this story. And the British government is only planning to block Huawei, Thomas, from sensitive parts of the 5G network. So sensitive parts and only blocking there. What does all of that mean?
It depends who you ask, really, but it comes down to whether Huawei is going to be allowed into the central part of the 5G networks in the UK, the brains of the networks, or those cell phone towers that you see, and
right.
the smaller base stations that you're starting to see pop up in bigger cities such as Toronto now for the development of 5G networks. Now, traditionally, if you compare it to what we have now, 4G networks, the data processing, the information that we're sending over the cellular network is being processed in the brain, the core part of the network. But with 5G, the difference is some of that processing power is being distributed to the edge, what's considered the non-sensitive part of the network, which raises all kinds of questions as to why the UK has decided to allow Huawei into this what's considered traditionally non-sensitive part of the network. If you compare it to a car, traditionally it would be like allowing Huawei to make the tires, supply the
right.
tires of the car, but not inside the engine. Now with 5G, it's sort of like the engine is built into the tires. That's where it's get complicated.
Okay, I'm getting you now. And the difference between what we have now, 4G as you mentioned, to what we would have, 5G, is what?
Different speeds. 5G is certainly going to be faster. That is the way it is marketed. Lower latency, which means if you're using artificial intelligence software or the Internet of Things as we know it, connected toasters and self-driving vehicles and refrigerators at home. Eventually, one day, all that stuff is going to be connected to the internet one way or another, normally powered by 5G years down the road. So the question is, does a country like Canada or the UK want to allow a foreign actor such as Huawei with alleged links to the Chinese government access to this sensitive information into just about every part of our lives one day down the road once this Internet of Things becomes a reality? This is the decision that the UK has taken against the US wishes, which is going to complicate things politically for British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. But it raises questions as to what Canada is going to do now,
right.
and whether Huawei will be allowed in or not.
And we're all watching. It is a minority government here in Canada, so we'll see what Ottawa does. But, you know, you talk about the technology of this. Cannot forget the political aspect as well.
Absolutely. With the UK leaving the European Union in just a matter of days at the end of this week, the UK is very keen on a U.S. trade deal. This is going to raise all kinds of questions. The U.S. has signaled that it can't allow the UK into intelligence sharing with the Five Eyes agreement that involves Canada and Australia and New Zealand as well. There are lots of questions. I believe the U.S. Secretary of State is going to be in the UK tomorrow, so you can imagine there'll be even more pressure even now that this decision has been announced.
Absolutely. I know you're watching it all, and great to have you on the program.
Good to see you.
CBC's Thomas Daigle right here.